Genesis, Exodus, chapter 71, Exodus 21. Now these are the judgments that the Lord set before Moses for the people of Israel. If a Hebrew servant is bought, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go out free without payment. If he came in single, he shall depart single. If he had a wife, she shall depart with him. But if his master has given him a wife, and she has borne sons or daughters, the wife and children belong to the master, yet the servant may go out alone. But if the servant declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I do not want to go free, then his master shall bring him before God, place him at the door or doorpost, and pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Concerning daughters given as maidservants, if she does not please her master, he must allow her to be redeemed, and cannot sell her to foreigners. If he marries her to his son, he must treat her as a daughter. If he takes another wife, he must not diminish her food, clothing, or marital rights. If he fails, she shall go free without payment. Whoever strikes a man so he dies shall be put to death. But if it was not intentional, God has appointed a place of refuge. Whoever strikes or curses father or mother shall surely be put to death. If men fight and hurt a pregnant woman causing premature birth but no harm, the offender must pay a fine. But if harm follows, then it shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. If a master injures a servant's eye or tooth, the servant shall go free. If an ox gores a man and he dies, the ox shall be stoned. If the ox was known to be dangerous and the owner failed to restrain it, the owner shall also be responsible. If a man opens a pit and another man's animal falls into it, he must make restitution. If an ox kills another ox, the animals shall be sold and the money divided. Or if the ox was known to be dangerous and not held in, full restitution must be made. Thus were the judgments the Lord commanded Moses for Israel. Genesis, Exodus chapter 72. Exodus chapter 22. The Lord continued giving his laws, saying, If a man steals an ox, a sheep, or any livestock and kills or sells it, he must repay multiple times. 5 oxen for 1 ox, 4 sheep for 1 sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck so that he dies, the defender is not guilty. But if it happens after sunrise, guilt remains. If a thief is found and what he stole is still alive, ox, donkey, or sheep, he must repay double. If someone lets livestock graze in another man's field, he must repay from the best of his own field or vineyard. If a fire is set and spreads, destroying grain or fields, the one responsible must make restitution. If a man gives money or goods to another for safekeeping, and they are stolen from the house, the thief must repay double. If the thief is not found, the accused must appear before God to see whether he took the goods himself. Any case of disputed ownership, ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or anything lost, must come before God, and the guilty party must pay double. If a man borrows an animal and it is injured or dies with the owner absent, he must make full restitution. If the owner is present, no restitution is required. If a man seduces an unmarried virgin, he must pay the bride price and marry her. If her father refuses, he must still pay the full amount. The Lord commanded, You must not allow a sorceress to live. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal must be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to any god except the Lord alone must be destroyed. You must not mistreat or oppress foreigners, for you were foreigners in Egypt. You must not harm widows or orphans. If they cry out to me, my anger will burn, and I will strike you, and your wives will become widows and your children fatherless. If you lend money to the poor among you, do not act like a creditor, and do not charge interest. If you take a cloak as collateral, return it by sunset, for it may be the person's only covering. If they cry out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. You must not curse God or curse a ruler of your people. You must offer the first fruits of your harvest and the firstborn of your sons and livestock. You must treat yourselves as holy people to the Lord. You must not eat meat torn by beasts in the field. You must throw it to the dogs. Genesis, Exodus, chapter 73. Exodus, chapter 23. And the Lord spoke commandments of justice and righteousness to his people. He warned them not to spread false rumors, not to join hands with the wicked, and not to give harmful testimony. They were told never to favor the poor in judgment, nor oppress the innocent, nor bend justice for the rich. The Lord commanded them to return even an enemy's lost donkey and help lift the burden of an animal that belonged to someone who hated them. They were told never to deny justice to the poor, never to accept bribes, and never to oppress foreigners, for they themselves had been foreigners in Egypt. 6 years they were to sow and harvest. But in the 7th year the land was to rest, so the poor and the beasts of the field might eat. 6 days they were to work, but the 7th was for rest, so servants, strangers, and animals could refresh themselves. The Lord warned them to guard everything he commanded and never speak the names of false gods. 3 annual feasts were to be kept unto him, the feast of unleavened bread, the feast of harvest for the first fruits, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. They were not to sacrifice leavened bread with his offerings, nor leave the fat of feasts until morning. The first fruits of the land were to be brought into the house of the Lord. Then God promised his angel would go before them, guarding them and leading them to the place prepared. They were commanded to obey his voice, for the angel carried God's authority and his name. If they listened, the Lord would be an enemy to their enemies and oppose those who opposed them. God would drive out the nations before them little by little, not all at once, lest the land become desolate. He promised to set their boundaries from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the river. But they were warned, "Make no covenant with the nations or their gods, and do not let them dwell among them, lest they cause Israel to sin. For if they serve their gods, it would surely be a snare." Genesis, Exodus, chapter 74. Exodus, chapter 24. Moses is called by the Most High to approach the holy mountain along with Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel. The people stand at a distance while Moses alone ascends closer to the divine presence. Moses recounts every word and command spoken by the Lord, and the people reply with one voice, saying they will do all that the Lord has commanded. Moses writes down all the words of the covenant and rises early in the morning to build an altar at the foot of the mountain, setting up 12 pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel. Young men offer burnt offerings and peace offerings of oxen. Moses collects the blood, placing half in basins and sprinkling the other half on the altar. He reads the book of the covenant to the people, and they affirm again that they will obey all the words spoken by the Lord. Moses then sprinkles the covenant blood upon the people, sealing their bond with the Lord. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders ascend and behold a vision of the God of Israel, a brilliance beneath his feet like sapphire stone, clear as the heavens. They eat and drink in his presence without harm. The Lord calls Moses further up the mountain to receive the stone tablets inscribed with the laws and commandments. Moses rises with Joshua, instructing the elders to wait until he returns. A cloud envelops the mountain, and the glory of the Lord rests upon it for 6 days. On the 7th day, Moses is called into the midst of the cloud, where the glory of the Lord appears like consuming fire to the Israelites below. Moses enters the cloud and remains on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Chapter 75, Exodus 25. Voiceover. Prompt. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You shall receive from every man whose heart prompts him gifts for the construction of the sanctuary, for the ark of the covenant, the table, the lampstand, and all the furnishings of the tent of meeting. Let them bring gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and the hides of sea cows. Let them also bring acacia wood, oil for the lamps, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense. Make them exactly as I command you." Moses relayed these instructions to the Israelites. The people listened attentively, their hearts stirred by the divine command. Men and women, elders and youth, all prepared to bring their gifts and offerings according to the instructions of the Lord through Moses. They began organizing the materials and gathering all that was required to construct the sanctuary as the Lord had commanded. Chapter 76, Exodus 26. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine linen, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with cherubim skillfully woven into them. Each curtain shall be 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 curtains together and the other 5 curtains together, and then overlay them one over the other to form a single tabernacle. Make loops of blue yarn along the edges and place gold clasps to join the curtains so that the tabernacle is united into one. Construct boards of acacia wood for the walls, with silver bases and gold-covered tops. Make 20 boards for the south side, 20 boards for the north side, and 6 boards for the western end, along with 2 corner boards." Moses relayed the instructions to the Israelites. The people listened attentively and carefully prepared the materials for the tabernacle, ensuring that every detail matched the command of the Lord. They began arranging the curtains, boards, and other furnishings exactly as instructed, their hearts filled with reverence and obedience to God's word. Chapter 77, Exodus 27. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Make an altar of acacia wood square, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. Cover it with bronze. Make its horns on the 4 corners of the altar. Make all the utensils for it, pans, shovels, basins, forks, and fire pans, and cover the altar with a grating of bronze. Place it in the courtyard of the tabernacle, so that it is holy and central to the worship of the Israelites. Surround the courtyard with curtains of fine linen, with posts and bases of bronze. Make the entrance curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with cherubim skillfully woven. Arrange the courtyard so the altar is placed exactly as I have commanded you." Moses relayed all the instructions to the Israelites. The people listened attentively, gathering the necessary materials: acacia wood, bronze, fine linen, threads of blue, purple, and scarlet, and all the utensils needed for the altar. Every man, woman, and child in the camp prepared themselves to follow the commands of the Lord exactly. Men lifted the beams and boards, women wove and embroidered the curtains, and the elders guided the work. The Israelites labored with reverence and precision, making every piece according to God's instructions, ensuring that the altar and courtyard were built as a holy sanctuary before the Lord. Chapter 78, Exodus 28. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "You shall bring near to you Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the Israelites to serve as priests. Make holy garments for Aaron your brother for glory and for beauty. Speak to all the skilled men whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they make Aaron's garments to consecrate him for my priesthood. These are the garments: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. Make them for glory and for beauty. The breastpiece shall be made with 12 stones, each engraved with the names of the sons of Israel, according to their tribes. Arrange them in 4 rows of 3 stones. Bind the breastpiece with gold chains and attach it with rings to the ephod. Aaron shall wear them to bear the names of the Israelites before the Lord. Make the ephod with skillful weaving of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with fine linen, and attach it with a sash. The robe shall be of blue, with an opening in the middle for the head, and a hem with pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and bells of gold. Make the turban and sash with the same care. These garments shall consecrate Aaron and his sons for service to the Lord, and they shall bear the honor and glory of the priesthood throughout their generations." Moses conveyed all the Lord's instructions to the Israelites. Skilled artisans began crafting the garments exactly as commanded, weaving, embroidering, and attaching gold chains and stones. Aaron and his sons were instructed on their sacred duties and the proper wearing of each garment. The entire assembly of Israelites watched with reverence as the holy priestly garments were prepared with precision, reflecting glory, beauty, and obedience to God's command. Chapter 79. Exodus 29. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Consecrate Aaron and his sons. Bring them near to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and wash them with water. Put the tunic on Aaron, tie the sash around him, and clothe him with the robe. Place the ephod and breastpiece on him, and tie them with the sash. Put the turban on his head and attach the golden plate engraved Holy to the Lord. Bring his sons near and clothe them in tunics with sashes and caps. Take a young bull and 2 rams without blemish. Bring them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the heads of the bull and rams. Slay the bull for the sin offering, and sprinkle its blood on the altar. Take some of its blood, and apply it to Aaron and his garments to consecrate them. Slay 1 ram for the burnt offering, and the other ram for the ordination offering. Use the blood to anoint Aaron and his sons, the altar, and the holy garments, as I have commanded you, so they may serve as priests. Offer all the parts on the altar with fire and incense. This shall be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his sons to serve me as priests." Moses carefully followed all the Lord's instructions. Aaron and his sons were washed, dressed, and anointed with the sacred blood and oils. The Israelites watched with reverence as the offerings were sacrificed and the priests consecrated. Every motion was precise, reflecting obedience and devotion to God's command. The altar burned with the offerings, and the glory of the Lord filled the camp, consecrating Aaron, his sons, and all their garments for the service of the priesthood forever. Chapter 80. Exodus 30. Voiceover. Prompt. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Make an altar for incense of acacia wood, 1 cubit long and 1 cubit wide, with 2 cubits in height. Overlay it with pure gold, make a gold molding around it, and put 2 gold rings on its sides for poles. The poles shall also be of acacia wood, covered with gold. Aaron shall burn fragrant incense on it every morning and evening. Make it holy, consecrating it to the Lord, so that it may be a memorial before him for generations. Do not offer strange incense or burnt offerings upon it, nor pour drink offerings upon it. Make a census of the Israelites, and each man shall give a half shekel for atonement, that their lives may be accounted for, and that no plague come upon them during the counting. Make a bronze laver with a bronze base for washing, so Aaron and his sons may wash their hands and feet before entering the tent of meeting or approaching the altar, that they do not die. These are the ordinances for the tabernacle and its service, to sanctify the priests and the people according to my commands." Moses followed all the Lord's instructions exactly. He commanded the artisans to build the altar of incense with pure gold and acacia wood, and to prepare the bronze laver for ceremonial washing. Aaron and his sons were instructed on the proper rituals of incense, washing, and atonement contributions. The Israelites cooperated, giving their half-shekel offerings, and watched as the tabernacle became increasingly sanctified. Every act, every measurement, and every offering was performed with reverence, reflecting the holiness and obedience demanded by God's commandments.